Let's move on to fifth to seventh for the other European spots. Obviously, like you mentioned, there might be an extra Champions League spot, which could complicate things, but we're just going to go based off of tradition. So fifth and sixth for the Europa League and seventh for the Conference League, unless cup winners determine otherwise. But yeah, fifth to seventh. Who are we thinking, Colin?
Just gonna stick what I originally said a few weeks ago. Chelsea, purely because of the signings. Poch, they're obviously looking way better than they did last season already. Spurs, I'm gonna put in there. They've looked quite good, and Newcastle. I just think they'll fall short of the two bigger clubs there, but they've. I mean, I love the way they play. That Eddie Howe's an amazing manager. I just can't see anyone else really knocking on the door. So
There's obviously other contenders, Aston Villa and Brighton.
sure.
What do you think about those?
Yeah, I just don't think they've got more than Newcastle. So yeah, just
Okay.
don't think they'll knock on the door.
Yeah. I mean, I had Newcastle dropping out of the top four, but yeah, I think they're still pretty firmly in the European spots. They have such a solid squad. Their midfield is Joe Linton, Bruno Gomes, and Tonali,
Beast.
which is, I mean, it might be the best midfield in the Prem almost.
I'd say yeah, it's
I
probably the
don't.
second or third best
Yeah.
midfield for
You're
sure.
saying that them being in Europe this season might be detrimental to their league status, but I can't see them putting too much stock in Europe. I think they will just go for the league.
I think they'll focus on the league for sure. I think Eddie Howe probably has instruction from the owners.
Yeah, it's more
Make
important.
sure it's more important financially,
Yeah, of
and
course.
just you want that consistency because once you get that consistency and you're making it year on year on year, obviously the club just continues to grow. Not that they need the money, but overall, obviously, it is going to help.
Yeah,
And Eddie Howe did say in one of his early press conferences that the Champions League is a distraction.
yeah.
So I think he will focus on the league.
Oh, he's come out and said that.
He said that earlier this
Right.
season, yeah,
Yeah.
just before the season started, I think.
Mm.
But
Yeah, I mean, if they go out early in the Champions League, then my prediction would change quite a lot. Then I think they could actually compete for the top four,
Yeah.
but it just really depends for me
yeah,
Yeah.
I
on
agree with
that
Joe. Like they
factor.
do have a solid squad, and their depth is okay. So like they have obviously Callum Wilson, Isaac starting more, which is fair. But
Harvey Barnes,
Harvey Barnes,
Anthony Gordon.
yeah, because Gordon, Gordon, Isaac, and Almiron have been starting, but
Yeah,
they have Barnes, they have Wilson,
Willock.
Willock as well. Yeah, so I think they have a bit of
For me,
decent depth, but
it,
not
it,
like to the level where I think they can handle all those competitions
I'm
really, really well. But
I'm not too concerned about their forward and midfield depth. It's really the defense for me.
yeah.
So once you get past their starters, it's what Shar, Byrne, Trippier, and
No, it's Burn and Trippier on the wing backs,
yeah,
and Shar and Botman in center.
Botman. Yeah, but once you get past those four,
So I think they have Lascelles, who's good, and they can move Dan Burn, sorry, into the middle because he's traditionally a center back. He's just like, the tallest left back I've ever seen right now. But they've got Matt Target, who's the backup left back. So you're right. So if they, for example, if Shar got injured and they moved Dan Burn in and then Target at left back, you're right. It's
yeah,
not the prettiest.
they're gonna have to do some squad rotation to survive those competitions. So,
Yeah.
anyways, we'll see what happens there. But yeah,
I think because in the Champions League you will come across weaker teams, quote unquote, but
Yeah.
like against those teams I think you can rotate a little bit, but once you come against like a Barcelona or something like that, obviously you can't. You have to play your best squad, and then you'll have to play that same squad again on the weekend.
Yeah.
if it was Europa League or Conference League, I'd be
Yeah,
saying like talking a different tune. But Champions League, even the weak teams
they're still strong, of
are not
course,
that
of
are not
course.
weak.
Yeah,
Like you go to Europa League and you play like Bate Borisov or some random team,
yeah, for
then
sure.
you can play some kind of mediocre players, and
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so you have who do you have as fifth then?
yeah, you had
Chelsea, Spurs, Newcastle.
No, no, Jules,
oh
you're
me.
starting your list. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So I just want to say I think it's going to be a dogfight from
yeah,
5 to 7. I think all the teams we named, Chelsea, even the teams I put in fourth place. So Chelsea, Liverpool, Newcastle, Villa, and Brighton.
Spurs.
And yeah, I always forget about them. Fucking whack team.
Everybody does it.
But yeah, I think all those teams. Chelsea and Spurs have a chance because they're not in Europe and they have a big budget and pretty solidified squads. So I think they're going to push teams. And then, I think the kind of teams that don't have the squad depth that are now in Europe are going to struggle to balance that and the Prem. So, I think teams like Villa and Brighton and Newcastle are going to struggle a little bit with their squad depth. It happened to, who was it? It happened to Leicester City really badly.
really badly. It happened to Wolves
Yeah.
and it happened to Burnley, but to be fair, Burnley didn't have any budget. They bought
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
one big player at the time, and that was it
So I mean, these teams are more well equipped than those teams were,
for sure.
but it's still really taxing on a team to play that many competitions
100%.
against really really good teams. So I had Chelsea fourth, so fifth I will put Liverpool, um, and then sixth and seventh I think I have to go with I think I'm gonna put Villa ahead of Newcastle, so I think I'm gonna go sixth Villa, seventh Newcastle.
Spurs out of the top seven.
Yeah, and then I'll probably put Spurs eight
Okay,
just as a bonus, and then Brighton and
yeah, the best after.
yeah.
Interesting, interesting. So you're because my early prediction, to be honest, was having Chelsea as fifth, and I believe I had Aston Villa sixth and Newcastle seventh. But I've kind of changed my mind. Obviously, 3 weeks into the season now. Freaking Spurs look good, man. Like Spurs look really, really good. Like Madison, I think
They did a job on United, and Madison's a great signing for them.
I think he's early. Like obviously, it's 3 weeks in. He'll probably get an injury. Other signings will shine, but early signs are pointing towards that he'll be one of the signings of the season for sure.
Mm.
The only issue that Spurs have, I would say, is a bit of depth. Like their midfielders and defenders aren't that inspiring. They obviously got the what's the Dutch player's name? There's so many of them. Mickey
Yeah,
Van den Ven, I think it is.
Van der Ven or something like that. A good
He's
center back.
oh, he's great and he's rapid and everything as well. But the only thing I see them struggling in is their striker.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Richarlison is the only piece in that team that seems out of place. Everybody else is playing really well except him. He's missed some big chances, and he just seems like he doesn't belong in that Spurs squad. That being said, I mean their manager's playing a lot more attacking. Like this is the
Mm.
most exciting Spurs squad we've
Yeah,
seen in a long time. I hate them. I don't want them to finish in top seven.
yeah,
The manager's super likable. I love Madison.
yeah.
But yeah, as a team, I hate them. But yeah, I don't know. So they're in the mix now. Brighton obviously had a really good start, and then they had a random loss against West Ham. But I don't know. I just think their manager has that X factor about them, and the way they play. They're gonna make a couple more signings as well. They're close to signing Baleba from Lille, is it? I think the center mid to
Yeah.
replace Casiedo. So, but I will stick to my original gun. So I'm gonna go with Chelsea fifth. I I think I'm gonna put Spurs sixth, and I do think Newcastle will finish ahead of Aston Villa, but I'm gonna go with my original thoughts just because I think Aston Villa will surprise people, and I think they'll finish seventh. Just a quick word on Aston Villa. Like, obviously, we've talked about it off air, but Musa Diaby is just absolutely killing it. You were thinking that he might have a lot of goal involvements this season.
Yeah, I mean, Villa's been great. I mean, the manager obviously.
Massive impact.
Yeah, bringing him in, he's always the thing which encourages me with them was Emery is really experienced in Europe.
Yeah,
So, I think he'll be able to manage his depth a little bit more
better for sure.
astutely
Mm.
than, somebody like Eddie Howe or so I think they might actually have a chance of really managing their competitions really well. They have so many like great explosive players. Like
Yeah,
Diaby was a player that was linked with
for
Arsenal and
sure.
City and all
Mm.
the big clubs, and then he chose Aston Villa. But
That shows you that there is something growing there. Like obviously that was the whole intention of when they assigned Gerrard, unfortunately he flopped as a manager, but that was the whole narrative at that point. Like, we want to be competing for obviously
Yeah,
Aston Villa's a historic
huge
club.
club.
Like
Yeah,
they've won the Champions League before, right? So they
yeah,
want to
yeah.
get back to that level. So there must Musa like Diaby must have been convinced by the project and must have been excited about it. Okay, like, there's so many exciting players there already. They've signed Tielemans, they've signed Well, Diego Carlos is basically a new signing because he was injured all of
I
last
mean, they
season.
might have the best center back partnership in the Prem. Obviously, not the best, but
But like
outside of the top
best of
two
the rest,
teams,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like Pau Torres and Diego
Yeah,
Carlos.
Mings had a huge revival under
Right.
Emery. Unfortunately, he obviously is out for quite a while now with a knee injury. Emi Martinez, great keeper. Um, Matty Cash scored a couple goals. I love Matty Cash. I think he's a sick player. They've got what's the wing back they signed from Sporting last year? The,
Yeah, I
oh,
forgot.
I forget his name.
That'll come
Shows
up
how shows how
eventually.
shows how good he is. But they've got him and they've got Dean, so like they've got a bit of decent depth.
Ollie
Ollie
Watkins.
Watkins, obviously. McGinn
Like
is
Oli,
playing
yeah.
good. Buendia's had a revival. Obviously, he got injured, but they got Zaniolo.
Yeah,
So yeah, I don't know. I think Aston Villa's an exciting team right now. So I'll just stick with them. So I'll say Chelsea, Spurs, Aston Villa.
fair. I think we've all had similar clubs in the top
Yeah,
European spots in the top four, just in different orders.
I think my predictions are a little bit more unrealistic in terms of Arsenal winning the league and
I see it's not
mm,
happening.
Somebody has to be
somebody
controversial.
exactly offer. We'll spice it up a little bit.
Well,
Can't
maybe
wait
putting
to.
United as second is controversial.
Yeah, true,
Yeah,
true.
because
And
we've looked honestly terrible.
sorry.
We've looked honestly
Yeah,
terrible.
it's been a tough few
Y-
games. Even the Wolves. I mean, that was a
I
fortunate
know.
win. Let's
Yeah,
be
well, I mean,
honest.
yeah, they were unlucky not
You
to,
still
to
think
walk
that's
away.
not that wasn't a penalty? Or that was a penalty? Or sorry, that wasn't.
Oh, mate, no, he got the ball on. I know. Yeah, it was clear. It was clear. Got the ball.
But I think our predictions, the fact that we all have basically the same clubs in our top seven spots,
Yeah,
speaks to the parity now and this kind of the midfield, so to speak, solidifying a bit. So there feels like now it used to be a top four, top five. Now it's like, there is a top four, a top three, and
Yeah,
then there's six other clubs that are all in the dogfight.
yeah.
And then, there's
the
the
rest.
rest. So there's
Just the
I
more
the quality's getting better and better. It's getting more competitive
for
year on
sure.
year.
for
I
sure.
think it's probably the hardest year to do a prediction.
I would say, like Joel said, like this is. I think there's like more of like a top nine basically. Like
Yeah,
Brighton, Newcastle, Aston Villa have joined the
absolutely.
rest,
Yeah.
and then it's the rest of the clubs.
I
We'll
mean,
see what
even West
happens. But
Ham, like,
yeah, I mean West
I mean,
Ham.
I don't know. I think it might have been you. You kind of wrote them off a couple of weeks ago, but I mean, they're looking all right.
I think last year obviously they struggled in the league. They obviously won the conference league, but
Yeah,
it goes to the point that Jules was talking about in terms of balancing the European competition
yeah,
and the league as well. But I do think they'll learn from some of those mistakes. They obviously look a lot better already. And they sold Rice, but the players they've added, James Ward-Prowse, he's on
yeah,
fire already,
yeah,
providing assists and scored a goal as well. The Alvarez guy looks really, really good from Ajax. Ajax always produce great
for
players,
sure.
and now they've signed Kudus as well,
Yeah.
which is big. A lot of top clubs are linked to him as well.
I think they're also linked with Mavropanos, an ex-Arsenal center back.
They got him already. The Greek one,
Okay, yeah, I
yeah.
don't know if it was finalized yet, but that's another kind of area they needed to solidify.
No, they finalized that one as well. I think they're linked with a forward as well. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, and obviously all the teams do in the last couple of days of the window. But yeah, West Ham technically on paper, like Callum said, I think they're just below those guys as
Mm.
well. They're just on the
We'll
edge there.
see. We'll see how they do.
Yeah, it's just a testament how competitive it's getting in the Premier League. Like,
Which,
there's no easy games.
yeah, I mean, it's exciting, and the league's getting to a point. It's like a prem-dominated football world now,
Mm.
and you know, teams like Aston Villa and West Ham are buying top players from other European clubs. Usually, those would be the types of teams selling their players, and
Yeah,
now
yeah.
all those players are coming to the Prem.
Mm.
So,
For sure, but teams even like Juventus, Milan, the Milan teams, etc. Like they can't compete
No,
with the Premier League. It's the Premier League is seen as like
for
that
sure.
massive. But obviously, there's still Bayern,
Yeah,
Barcelona, Real
the
Madrid,
the
but
big two ones for me is Real Madrid, Barcelona.
Barcelona.
They're
There's
like
always going to
that
be
lure of those two clubs in particular. There's
yeah,
always going to be the superstar that
for
eventually
sure.
gets sold to them, right? Like,
Even English players now, obviously, it's becoming more like
yeah,
Real
yeah, yeah,
Madrid, obviously,
yeah.
but
Like
going to
I,
Germany now is very popular for English
yeah.
players.
like I can't see Haaland staying at City forever. I just can't.
I don't know, man.
I can see him at Real Madrid. Like yeah,
Depends if Mbappe goes there.
Yeah. I agree with you. Obviously, like, you're right. You're right. Obviously, a lot of players would want to go there, but I just feel like Haaland's a bit different. Like he loves the Prem. Like his dad played in the Prem, and I think
yeah.
he
I think
wants to
he's
be.
got a realistic chance, obviously, to be smashing
I was about to
records.
say, I think he wants to beat all those records and just cement his place
I mean,
as.
he's great for the league, obviously, and
Yeah.
as you just said, it's in that time we're not actually losing our big stars anymore.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
the last few years we've had the best managers. We've had
Yeah,
at one point obviously we had Ancelotti as well. We had Tuchel. Like
yeah.
we had all the best managers in this league.
They
But
they say it's the Pep effect. I
yeah,
can't remember the. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's a statistic. So every time he's managing in a country, that nation wins silverware on the national stage.
in Europe.
No, no. So what do you mean? So
That
when he was with Spain, when he was obviously managing Spain, Spain won the World Cup, the Euros.
no, he never managed Spain, mate.
No, no, no. I mean the national team, the effect he has on the
Ah,
league and the
got you,
players,
got you, got you,
everything raises the game. He's
got
obviously
you,
coaching
got
the
you.
best players.
so why is France winning?
Yeah.
I'm just saying we.
No, but I know what you mean. So
So I'm just
when he
telling you
was
the
man,
statistic. When he was in Spain, Spain won.
well, not only that. So obviously Barcelona, Real Madrid dominated. The
Yeah,
Spanish league dominated at
and
the
then
time.
and then Bayern Munich
The German league dominated at the
and
time.
Germany won at the time when he was managing in Germany.
England
So
can't
we're
get over
hoping
that.
But even Bayern and Dortmund obviously were playing really
exactly
well in the Champions League.
exactly. So it's the Pep effect. So we're hoping, Euros are coming up. It's time to win some silverware.
I think that's reaching a bit far, but
We'll talk about that when it comes around.